Hello everyone and welcome to CodeStar Technologies. As I always tell you, this is one of the fastest growing online learning platform here in Kenya and Africa at large. As usual, I'm your host Rico Banks and this is Introduction to Web Development course. In our today's session, I would like to take you through the following. First of all, it's about the requirements and qualification in case you're interested with this course or to take this course. The next thing I will talk about is the course content, what you need to expect, the topics and all those kind of stuff, languages. Then I'll give you a small intro on the languages that we normally cover and how we normally use them. On the other side of the database, we are going to do the same so that we can talk about the databases that we normally use in web development. Then I will take you through the course structure, how we normally structure our courses here at CodeStar. And lastly, I'll complete the session by showing you some sample of the projects so that you can be able to see what you will be able to achieve once you complete your course. Then we'll talk about the methods of payment that you can use. So without wasting time, let's jump in and start. First of all, I would like to start with the qualification. The qualification thing is one of the things that normally most of the people they are locked out, because in most institutions like here in Kenya they normally say that you need to have maybe as a Form 4 certificate or maybe something like that. But on my case, I normally believe that in this field of IT, we are driven by passion, and there is that feeling you normally get when you are passionate about something. And in that case, I would say that there is no way you can come and say that you want to do a web development course and you've not done other research on it and you don't understand where it's used. So first of all, I would advise you first of all to be passionate, to build that passion, research more about it, and once you are done with that, now the other thing all the other things are going to fall into place. So I would like to say that the most important qualification to this course is all about passion, because if you have passion, you are going to do the research, and once you do the research, I believe now you can read and write and understand. So the rest we are going to work it out here, how to design a system, how to code, or how to come up with the whole system, the coding and so forth, then how to launch the system. Because in this case of web development, you are supposed to complete your project when you host it on a web server. So that is all about qualification. And the other side of the requirements, what you just need to have, it's a computer machine and internet connectivity, because our classes are conducted online. So we normally use our learning platform that is called Star Technologies, which is also integrated with other systems that are used for this those kind of sessions. Like we have got Zoom, we have got Google, we have got the one for Microsoft, Microsoft Teams, we have got TeamViewer, which helps a lot in case maybe you have got any issues to do with the installation. Again, when we want to troubleshoot your code and go through your code debugging and all those kind of stuff, we can help you using TeamViewer. So those are some of the resources that you need to make sure you have in your machine, and kind of check which is more comfortable with you before we start. So those are the most important requirements: just a computer machine, internet connectivity, and the rest we can take it from there, because I believe in case maybe you have a problem with the installation of those kind of softwares, we are able to guide you on that. Now, on the second part, which is the content, what we normally cover in our courses, the best way to go about it is first of all, we normally take you through the basic languages, that is on the front-end programming languages, because we just don't cover the static part of the website. We also cover both static and dynamic. So in this case, what you need to expect in terms of topics and all that, I would like to divide them in terms of languages. So we'll cover the front-end languages, then again go to the back-end side, and once we are done with the back-end programming languages that you're interested to cover, then we are supposed to show you how you launch your project and we'll be good to go. And the last thing is that you are supposed to do your own project for you to be able to complete the course. And once you complete the course, you'll get a certificate for that. Now, I would like to take you through the basic part, and first of all, it's to understand what is a website. And the simplest definition that I've always had is a website is a collection of web pages. I remember when I was in college, that was the definition that I was also given. But now, a website can be of two types. I remember my teacher said that we normally have a static website and a dynamic website. And in this case, the static website is the one that contains pages or web pages that whose content is fixed. The content does not change. So in that case, we can build this simple website using just HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript, because the content is just static. It does not change. So that is all about a static website. So you just need to do the front end part of the website, and you're good to go with the static website. Now, I believe that for the guys who have done with their primary, secondary education, especially if you did computer studies, you are able to cover some basic stuff to do with the HTML and all that. Though it is not all about it, but I believe up to this point now you can do something small, not much, but something small about HTML. So you are good to go, and you are on the right place to enroll. So that is it. On the other side of dynamic websites, a dynamic website, which we also refer to them as the web application. These are websites that has got both client side, or what we normally say front end, and back end, which is also referred to as the server side programming part of it, and it's maybe it can be connected to the database. So in this case, this is what we refer to as a dynamic website. When you go out there, you'll meet a lot of clients, and clients will just say that I need a website. Sometimes it's good to get the clarity for them to clarify what type of website they need. But in most cases, when I meet clients, they just need a simple website which is static, whose content does not change. Just a simple website that has got a home page, about us, that is about the company or organization or the business. Then we talk about either products or services, what they normally sell or what they normally deal with. And then lastly, they will have a contact part and something like that. So that's just a simple website whose content does not keep on changing. In case maybe they want to update the content, they can call you back and you can be able to do all those kind of stuff. So that is just a static website, and in most cases they refer to it as a website. But most of the clients will come and tell you they need a web application or web app. So in that case, that is a website that needs more attention, because this one, I would advise sometimes when we are doing this one to code from scratch, to start all the way from scratch. Though we normally have some tools that we can use and build it a little bit faster, but in this case, we are going to do everything from scratch so that you can get to understand if it is the client side, how we do it. If it is on the back end, how do we connect to the back end and the front end? How do we connect the system together with the database, and do all those stuffs, and how we normally host them. So in this case, that's what they normally refer when they say web application. And the prices are totally different. Like for example, if you're doing a static website, you normally charge less compared to a dynamic website, which is the web application. They are very expensive. So in most cases, like an e-commerce or maybe Facebook, those are good examples of what we refer to as a web application, because the content keeps on changing depending on what we post there. So basically, in that case, in most cases, like here in Kenya, you'll find that we normally charge like from 70,000 and above. Or sometimes there are guys who normally charge like 30, 50,000, something like that. But I would say, like, if you're coding it from scratch, you realize that it's a heavy task and it needs a lot of attention. And in that case, it's good to charge like something to do with from 100 and above. I normally understand that in most cases, like guys from universities and colleges, they normally get the basic knowledge, and once they get basic knowledge, they can be able to download some of the system from online platform, and once they download them, they can be able to modify them to the clients. If it's an e-commerce, you can also do it using things like WordPress and so forth. In that case, I know it's not that hard to do it, and in that case, maybe sometimes that's why you normally see some guys charging less. And sometimes you know that Kenya is a country that it has got a lot of unemployment, so in most cases that also normally lead to that. So that is the part that we have as introduction on the website definition. Then we need to jump into the languages that are used to design or to create these websites. So the basic language that you are supposed to cover is HTML, though in most cases we normally say that HTML is not a language because it doesn't have the logical part of creating algorithms and so forth. And I can say it's a language. It's just a markup language. It's a language that is used to build the foundation. It's the building block of a website. A website cannot stand out without the HTML part of it. So that is the first language that you need to cover. You get to learn all those tags, how you create a table, it's just how the information is going to be presented on your website. And in this case, like the planning part of it. Then once you have the skeleton part of it, which is designed using the HTML, you are supposed to make it a little bit attractive. And in that case, we normally do it with CSS. So the CSS now is the one that normally has things like colors, and sometimes you know that we normally use different types of devices like a mobile phone. Most people normally use a smartphone. We normally have tablets, iPads, and things like laptops and the desktops that we normally use in our offices. All this information, or maybe a website or a web application, it can be displayed using all those gadgets, but the display normally changes from one device to the other. So that is something that we normally say it's responsive. I remember very well when I was doing my first website, when I met my first client whom I was designing a website for. I believed like I can do it with just HTML and CSS. I didn't know anything to do with the responsiveness and so forth. So when I designed the system, I only realized that the website was only visible on my machine. When I checked on maybe the mobile phone, because I managed to host it, which was quite a challenge, but because I was using table as the layout instead of things like divs and box and so forth, those kind of structures that we normally use, I was designing everything, I was putting it in the table. That's how people used to design the tables back in the days. I realized that it was not visible on the other gadgets. I had to zoom so that it can be visible. So the CSS is the one that has the colors and determines how the responsiveness of the website is going to be. Then we have got a language here. When I was back in college, we were told it was a front-end programming language. That is, we used it as a front-end language. But over the years, it has evolved, and nowadays we normally use it as both for front-end and back-end. That is JavaScript. And what is the work of JavaScript? Unlike the CSS, which makes the website attractive, JavaScript makes the website to be interactive. Like when you click a button, the website can respond to that. Things like those ones, the mouse operation, things like those ones. Yeah, and those kind of all animation, you can also do them with JavaScript, looping and all that. So JavaScript in this case, this is one of the first programming language that you need to encounter when you're doing web developments, because these are full complete programming language. Actually, it's an object-oriented scripting programming language. So it's used nowadays for both front-end and back-end. Back-end because of this engine we call Node.js. It's the one that enables the JavaScript to be used on the server side. Then we have got the PHP, which over the years, it's one of the languages which has been known as the backend programming language for web development. As you know that over 70% of all the web application, things like Facebook, they were all built using PHP as the backend. So in that case, you can imagine the community support, which is with PHP language, compared to other languages like JavaScript when it comes to server-side programming. Though JavaScript nowadays is growing very fast, it has got what we refer to as modern features in server-side part of it compared to PHP. That's why most of the people, they normally say that it's kind of PHP is dying, ending, and so forth. But I believe it's very hard to do that, because you can imagine over 70% of all the web applications that are out there, they normally use PHP is the backend. So there are other languages that we also use on backend, like Python, which is one of the most powerful language that I know always keep on saying, because Python, you can use it like for everything that you do. From desktop application, you can use it on the backend side of the web application. You can use it on data science and machine learning, and even what we refer to as the embedded system and so forth. So Python is very, very powerful, and in this case it's also used for web development. So we normally have frameworks that are used for web development in Python, that is the Django and Flask. Those are some of the languages that we normally use in that case. Now I would like to go back a little bit on the JavaScript and say that some of the beginners, they normally get confused, because most of the people, they normally advise them like, okay, don't waste your time, just go and start doing Angular or React or Vue.js, something like that. Those are just frameworks for JavaScript, and I would like to tell you that every time there is always new frameworks that normally come, and they become always prominent more than the language itself. But in most cases, if you have got the knowledge or the understanding of the core language like JavaScript itself, there is no framework that will come into place and you will not be in a position to make use of it. So first of all, just focus on the core language, and then you can move to the frameworks. You'll be in a good position to understand. So all those one, Angular, React, and Vue.js, they are front-end programming frameworks for JavaScript, which are used for front-end. So the backend, as I said, it's only the Node.js which is used, and you will ask to understand other stuff like Express and so forth. There are other dependencies that you might need when it comes to backend part of it. So that is it. On the other side, when it comes to PHP, we normally have also frameworks that you will find. We have got, like nowadays, it's Laravel, which is something that everyone is looking forward to know how it works and all that kind of stuff, because these frameworks, they normally make development to be a little bit faster and easier. So there is Laravel, there was CodeIgniter, was Joomla, WordPress, which is a content management system, also built on it uses PHP. We have got other stuff like Webflow, which is a software as a service, which can also be used to develop softwares in a faster way. So in this case, all these ones are just frameworks for PHP. Again, we have got on the other side of how do we call it, Python, I said that we have got those frameworks like Django and Flask. Flask is a little bit easier compared to Django, but Django is a little bit powerful. Just got it's more powerful compared to Flask. So in case maybe if you want to start, you can start with the Flask. There is nothing wrong with covering all those kind of stuff. There's no problem, because in most cases when you go out there looking for freelancing jobs, you'll find that clients will come with all those kind of requirements, and you'll find that some languages, they cannot be able to do other stuff. Like if you want, nowadays the future is going on a place where now most of the web development will need to have what we refer to as the data science and machine learning features. So only that one you can implement using Python. I'm not saying everyone should go through to Django and Flask, something like that, but you realize also again some other tasks are much simpler, and when you do it using either PHP or JavaScript, you'll find that you are good to go, and you can do it in a faster way, because the availability of resources is much higher compared to those. That is what we refer to as the community support. you'll find that a lot of resources that you can get, maybe through the Stack Overflow, maybe to GitHub and so forth. You'll find that people have done such kind of stuff with it, and it will be easier for you to develop a system using those ones. So I hope up to that point I've covered the requirements, the qualification. I've been able to talk about the topics that you need to, that is how you need to expect to cover all these things, some of the languages that are required on web development. And then I would like to jump in on the other side, of databases. For many years, my SQL database has been used as the backend for most of the web application. Like, as you know that PHP, it has got that good relationship with MySQL, so you'll find a lot of developers going all the way to PHP MySQL because it's a little bit easier. It has got available resources that you can use and make your system a little bit faster compared when you're using either PHP with any other database. So this is a relational database management system. It uses one of the languages that we normally use to interact with the database, which is SQL, or rather structured query language. This is one of the most important things also you'll have to cover so that you can be able to interact with the databases. And then there is another database which is, it has got a good relationship when it comes to JavaScript. If you want to use JavaScript as a full stack developer, that is, you use JavaScript on the front end, you can use a framework like React, Angular, Vue, and so forth. Then on the back end side, we normally use Node.js, and you want to use a database like what we refer to as Mongodb. Mongodb, it's far much better when you do with the JS. They have got a good, it's a good. Then we have got what we have for. So MongoDB, it's a NoSQL database. It can store data in form of text. You don't need to define the structure. You can, for those guys who are familiar with JSON and so forth, you'll find that it's very easy to work with MongoDB and JSON, because sometimes you might need a synchronization of data and so forth, working with APIs and so forth, and it's good to understand how JSON works on that area. So MongoDB is a non-SQL database which does not use a structured query language in more bit, something like that. Then we have got Sqlite, which is also used, but it's not more. You'll not find most of the guys using Sqlite as it's just used when you're developing things like browser. It uses such kind of database, like when you need a cache and so forth to store data. Yeah, you can do all this stuff using Sqlite. It's a little bit easy, and you know that when you go to web development, not web development but mobile apps, most of them, they normally use Sqlite because it's very light. You can attach it to your application and it can store data locally, and you just need to synchronize it online, you transfer data with using JSON, something like that. So whatever it's on the local your gadget, that is, if you're not connected to the internet, when you connect to the internet, it can be transferred and back and forth to the server and back to your application. So that is it. Then we have got MariaDB, which is also nice. It uses both the JSON, you can work with the SQL and so forth. That's the good thing about MariaDB. But in cases, you'll find that most of the clients, they just need something like PHP MySQL or JavaScript MongoDB or JavaScript MySQL, something like that. That's a good combination. I would like to say that if you're a beginner, just focus on either those two, MySQL and either PHP or JavaScript, and on the other way around. But remember, whatever language that you use on the backend does not either determine, or maybe it doesn't interfere with your database, type of database that you're going to work with. So that's just a technology of how you build your APIs and so forth. So that is on the database, and I would like to say that in that area right now you can clearly understand, as I said, the topics, that was the qualification, requirements, the course content, these languages, how they are used. On the other side, how we normally the databases that we have, and lastly, now we are going to the structure, how we normally structure our courses. So let's end this slide and jump into this area. I've got this one, and there is a brochure here on how I structure, how we normally structure these courses. If you want to do a web development, you have to decide whether you want to go with a full stack JavaScript developer, which it's something like let me use the term man stack, something like that. That's a common word that is used sometimes to mean MongoDB Express, that is for E for Express, R for maybe React as the front end, and now we have got the Node.js which is used on the server side. So MySQL will either be your database, or MongoDB can be your database. On the server side, you can use Node.js. It is not you can use, it's only Node.js, which is for JavaScript. Then we have got the front end. It's where you can use any framework that you want, but sometimes I normally say that you can just do it normally, like HTML, CSS. Remember, there is also Bootstrap. Once you cover all those ones, because those are some of the basic things that you normally cover, you can move forward to those frameworks, either React, Angular, and so forth. You can use any of those that you feel comfortable with, something that you can do it in a faster way. Remember, only on all they normally have, it's just a framework that combines the HTML part of it, and then the CSS part of it to come up with a good design and so forth. Like, as you know that Facebook normally uses React. It's a framework that was designed by Facebook. So because of, you normally see sometimes when you're using a Facebook Lite, it's kind of a website that it's one page that contains all those components, and sometimes you don't need to refresh for the system to respond. So that's why you normally find it as one of the good thing about this framework, React and so forth. So there is the full stack web developer with JavaScript, which the price is 8,000, that is Kenyan money. It will go for 2 months. That is minimum, not maximum, minimum, because sometimes we have got people who normally maybe they are slow learner, something like that. So that's why we normally have that allowance. But the access is for life. Once you are registered on our platform, you'll get to access to these resources throughout. Then there is the other course that you can also take on web development, which is PHP MySQL, which is a good combination. And in this case also the same price applies to the same, because it's only that we have got the front-end programming languages, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then you use Node.js. This means you're going to stay just with JavaScript as the both front-end and back-end. But in this case, when you're taking the web development with the PHP MySQL option, you realize that you have to do the HTML, the CSS, and the CSS we can use some of the CSS frameworks like Bootstrap, or maybe we also have Tailwind, which is also another framework for CSS, but in most cases it's just Bootstrap. Then we jump into the JavaScript, because we need to add some interactivity to the website, and only that one can be done using JavaScript. And then we finalize with the backend, which is done using PHP, and the storage of data, it's on the MySQL. Remember, when you want to fetch, you do some computations, connection to other APIs and so forth, PHP works on that area, to send data to the database and so forth. All those kind of stuff, deleting, you normally do it with PHP, combination of PHP and what we refer to as SQL language. So in that case, you'll find that a PHP course, it has got a lot of content, but for the sake of just how Kenya is, I know most of the institutions, they normally charge more than that. But in our case, you need to remember that our course is online. It's just what I just need on my side. It's internet connectivity and my time. But when you go to other institutions, you'll find that they have to pay for rent for the building, that is something like that. Then they'll have to pay for the internet connectivity. They will have to pay the teachers and all those kind of stuff and materials that maybe they might need. So you realize it's very, very expensive. Like when you go to things like Moringa, you normally hear Moringa in Kenya, it will cost you 45 Kenyan money, 45,000 Kenyan money. That is the cheapest. When you go to places, other platforms like Udemy, we have got Coursera. Is it Coursera what or something like that? They normally charge up to almost 100,000 per course to cover all this kind of stuff. And in that case, you find that we are the cheapest in this case. So the web development course with PHP MySQL, it has got a lot of benefits. You have to cover HTML, CSS, and one of the frameworks like Bootstrap, then JavaScript, PHP as the backend, SQL, and how you design the database. Then we'll give you a bonus of WordPress. That is the good thing about this one. A bonus of WordPress will take you, because sometimes when you're designing a simple static web application, you don't need to code it from scratch. You can do it just using the WordPress. That is something that I normally do it within like 2-3 few hours. I'm done with it and I get my 20,000 and I'm good to go. So that's the good thing about it. When you want to do web development on the other side of using Python, remember Python, the only frameworks that are used for web development is only Django and Flask, and in this case the course is 5,000. 5,000 if you have got the basic knowledge on the programming, because remember you need to have, Python is structured in a way here that we have the Python basic programming, which is 5,000, which you need just to get to know, to understand how Python works. Then on the other side, if you want to do it, because Python can be used in many ways, there is the option for web development, there is option for data science. So you can see for web development, we just assume like you have got a basic knowledge on Python basic, but if you don't have that, then the course still adds up to 8,000 like the other ones. So we will take you through the Django or Flask. You just choose one of the frameworks between those two. Then on the other side, if you Python, you want to do it for data science and all those kind of stuff, it's 8,000, and that will cover, it will include the Python basic, and now what we normally use, the modules that we normally use for data science and machine learning, all those kind of stuff. And also you can also choose to do R programming, which is another languages that is used for what we refer to as the data science. So in that case, the price is the same like that, as you can see there. So that's all about how we normally structure our courses here at CodeStar. Then I would like to take you through some of the websites that I've done. There was this client who came to me and they needed I don't know how this. I did it using what we refer to as WordPress. The website that I did using WordPress. So you can see, I don't know of internet connectivity, I don't know. Then there is another website here, you can check, it is well designed, just using WordPress. Yeah, I don't know what is happening there. There must be a problem. Yeah, the internet is back. So this is a WordPress, and the website I did less than 2 hours actually, because they provided all this information. And you know, with WordPress you can use modules like not modules, we have got those plugins like Elementor. They normally make your work easier and so forth. It's just about working with plugins. So this is just a charity non-governmental organization. It deals with helping people and so forth. Yeah, and yeah, that's how you make money in an easier way. Then there is this simple one. It is just a site that I just happened to see it when I was searching some content, and you can see the design is very good. Sometimes I'm not that good when it comes to front end, but I normally say that it's very hard. I can be able to achieve that, but in most cases I normally say that when it comes to front end, I don't have that much knowledge, and because front end needs a lot of creativity. So that's why you can see this one with the WordPress. It is very nice, and this is a website that you can do it within less than 5 hours. You are done, and you can charge around 70,000. Then the way you can see CodeStar, this part I coded it from scratch. That's why you can see I'm saying I'm not good in front end, but I think I did something. You can see the animation, though it's not that quite nice, but yeah, this I coded from scratch, everything. I never used any WordPress or something like that. And you have to understand that when it comes to the front end part of it, it's all about simplicity and having enough spaces for the website to be visible and all that. This is another one that I did for a client whom we never completed business. I happened to host it on that is 000 web host, as you can see here. It's a good site. Sometimes when we will be maybe taking you through the courses and you don't want to buy a domain, this is the best way we can host your website. We'll show you how you normally host your website, because that is one of the requirements. But it's good to know that when we are developing, it's good to have your own domain, which is going to cost you very just a small amount, like we normally have. Where I normally buy most of the domain, it's truehosts.co.ke here in Kenya. This is one of the cheapest that I normally get. It's around 400 Kenyan shillings, which is very, very cheap. You can use it, and in that case, you'll get a database. You can create one database and so forth. Yeah, just a .co.ke website. Now about the space, the space you can expand it the way you want. I'll finalize with the server so that you can get to understand. So this was the system that I did, and as you can see, this I coded it from scratch. And in this case, I normally give myself a plus, because when it comes to front end, I'm not that good, and all those kind of. You can see I added a chat here. Also on this one, I added a WhatsApp here. These are plugins that you normally work with them on WordPress. So this one has got a backend. It was meant for the online writing. Normally get those kind of projects. Maybe you are in a campus, you have a project, like you have to write something about your project, something like that, proposal, those kind of stuff. You normally get those kind of online jobs. So he's a client who normally does all those kind of stuff, and so he needed a platform where now you can start, you can engage clients, because the best way to engage is when you have a platform or a website that you can show to people. I normally do this one. I've worked for these people, as you can see. Yeah, and they appreciate. This is what they say. So this is the form, like in case customer comes here, they can fill this form, then next and all that. They can create an account if they need. You can see how it looks. They can log into their account. At the main, there is a link that you can do, but I happen to append the link here at the back end. So in this case, you just enter the admin details, then log in, and on admin, because if you are the owner of the website, now you can be able to see some of the orders that people do place. This is how it looks. Yeah, so as you can see, these are the orders. When you act on a particular order, you can click here, you upload the content. You can upload the content. You can check the payments, if they paid. If it's about the upload, you can upload them. And when you are done with their work, you upload, they'll be able to see it on their site. So about the payment, you can also deal with payments, how you pay payment, amount, things like those ones. And then we have got the part for the clients. In case maybe they want to log in, like here, they can log in like that, something like that. And now this is what this client has placed. If you want to place an order of maybe a task that you might need people to work on, you just specify, is it a college paper, is it an essay or whatever, how many number of pages you need, date, then we have got enter, this is date, the deadline date that you are supposed to specify, and then you talk about the topic, this one, and you can upload a PDF, maybe if you have a PDF for the same. Then you place your order, and the admin will be able to see it. You make payment. Once you make payment, you can see how they are. Yeah, so there is a lot, and you can, when you click, maybe if it's completed, you will be able to download download via this one. You click and you just download and check whether it's done very well. So yeah, this is how this backend works and the front end. So in our process, when we are when I'm going to take you through the course, you'll find that this is what we'll be covering. At least you can create a system that has got both front end, back end. Now again, how we will host them, we'll do all those kind of stuff. And the other part that in most cases which is not covered is about the report and working with external APIs. You'll be able to see all those kind of stuff. Once we complete, now you can be able, like if it's you're in Kenya, you'll be able like to buy a domain from here, your own personal domain. You don't need it, it's on your side. You can decide like a business that you want to start, then you enroll for buy a domain which is like 300 Kenyan money, that is 400. Once you make your payment, you do a project. The projects that you'll do once you complete your course, we are going to take you through the hosting process so that you can get to know how these systems are hosted. That is depending on which area you cover, because remember, Python, that is a Django system, is normally hosted differently. And what we call it is a JavaScript, not JS system. It's hosted differently, and also PHP system is also hosted differently. There are different ways to host those kind of stuff and requirements that you might need. Now, in most cases, when you develop a system, like for example, a loan system, sometimes I normally get this question. It's a question that I wanted to find out about it, so that I can give a clear explanation of what VPS is. VPS stands for private, that is Wi-Fi. VPS, sorry, virtual private server. That is what it means. So this is a server that you normally buy. It's online. It's just a cloud that you normally buy to host your website and so forth, or web application. The reason is that it's very, very costly to buy your own server. Like for example, if you talk of buying a simple machine like Kohi, which it's just less if you have got so many clients. Kohi 9 machine desktop, how much can it cost you? Something like that. Let's check so that you can be able to see how much it's going to cost you. So in most cases, when you're buying this kind of stuff, it's good to go with the server VPS. If your platform needs to be used by so many people, it has got a lot of traffic, so you have to buy the VPS instead of hosting it on your own, because when you host it on your machine, you realize that you need power, because that machine needs, that server needs to be connected to the power 24/7. Again, and as you can see, this is the price, 85 Kenyan money. We have not talked about the internet connectivity, because you need something to do with what? Something to do with what have I checked? Is it the sensor machine or the RAM itself? Anyway, you will confirm on your site. I think something, yeah, you will confirm on your site. So so that server needs to be connected to the internet 24/7, and sometimes you can, like you can see, my internet is very slow. So it means if I need a server, I need like 2 service provider to do something we call load balancing, so that your server can be a good way to serve the clients. And that is internet connectivity from 2 companies connected to power 24/7. Sometimes when your power, how it behaves. So those are some of the reasons that it's very, very hard to maintain a server. And in most cases, if you talk about your system being secure, you need things like firewalls and so forth. And also how you build a system, you have to make sure that the security is good, because you know that we have got hackers who can hack your system and do a lot of crazy stuff, and you will end up regretting. So in that case, I can say it's very, very expensive. It's not that cheap as most people normally think, having their own server. So lastly, on this session, I would like to talk about the videos that I've done here on YouTube. You can check something like I've done integration of your web application with Lipa and M-Pesa, or you can do something like what we refer to as what USSD application, how you can work with APIs, and so forth. So you realize these are some of the features that most of clients are looking for. And if you are out there in university colleges, I know that most of the contents that we normally cover there, it's theoretical. It doesn't have the practical part of it. And when you come out here and saying maybe you have a degree, a diploma, and so forth, and you expect to get employed, employers, they normally look for skills in this field of IT. So you need to be focusing on that. And as I checked, there is a bill that is it's being discussed on the parliament to come up with a body that is going to regulate, like the same way we normally have TSA, to regulate the ICT industry in Kenya. And sometimes I'm of the opinion this thing is going to derail innovation. Sometimes you cannot control this thing. That is my opinion in that case. So that is it. Let's meet on the other side for where we are going to start with the lesson. That is with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So what you just need to take this course, just make your enrollment on this platform. You just need to click there, register. Once you register, you'll get the option to enroll to the some courses. Make your payments, and your payment you can just make them using this till number if you're here in Kenya and Tanzania, because I normally get those clients from Tanzania, Uganda. They can also use M-Pesa. And in case maybe you have got any challenges, feel free to communicate with us through this part of chat. And so from those areas you can use those platforms. I've said there is Lipa na M-Pesa that you can use. And on the other side, it's if you are beyond those boundaries, there is PayPal, which you can also use. There is also MoneyGram, which is one of the easiest way also I normally use in most cases for the clients. Like we have got clients from Sierra Leone, Cameroon, and so forth, and we do appreciate. So lastly, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I do appreciate a lot for the guys who have subscribed so far. I can see we are almost getting to 350. That is the number of subscribers. That support is very, very good. I do appreciate a lot, and I hope we are all learning. So feel free to share with us on the comment if you have got any issues to do with the price and all those kind of stuff. The price, you don't pay it the whole amount at once. You can pay it in 2 installments, but first of all you start with 60%, then you can complete the other one at a later stage. That is because the course goes for 2 months. So once you complete your course, there is a certificate. I happened to show the certificate. We normally do it with Corel, and the certificate, you can see it has a QR code, which you can just, when you take it somewhere where you're going to look for an employment, you just need to scan the QR code, and it's going to reflect to show you whether you are enrolled for this certificate. It's going to show you whether you are verified, you are one of our students. So that is what we normally do. Yeah, I hope now you've learned something, and I hope now you'll decide whether you want to go with the Django, that is on Python, whether you want to go with the PHP, whether you want to go with JavaScript as a full stack web developer, PHP, MySQL, full stack web developer, Python, a web developer with Django or Flask, something like that. So those are some of the areas that you can choose. The price, as I said, it's 8,000 Kenyan money. Don't forget to subscribe, share the link, and give the video thumbs up. Thank you guys, and see you on the next session.